Right now, you could be losing money without spending a single dollar. Not from a bad investment, not from a scam, and not because you did anything wrong. You're losing purchasing power simply because prices keep rising, while your retirement dollars stay the same. Think about it. If you're living on $50,000 a year today, that $50,000 does not buy the same amount of groceries, healthcare, housing, and everyday necessities that it used to. And if inflation continues, the gap can become much bigger over the next 10 years. The money in your account may still say $50,000. But what that $50,000 can actually buy could be worth far less. That's the part many retirees don't realize until they feel it in their everyday expenses. In this video, I'll show you exactly how inflation can reduce your retirement purchasing power, how much a fixed $50,000 income could lose over time, and, most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself from it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at your retirement income the same way again. Here's the number: $50,000 a year. Imagine that money stays exactly the same. It's not growing and it's not shrinking on paper. But around you, prices keep rising. Groceries cost more, doctor visits cost more, your electric bill costs more, and your $50,000, it still says $50,000. So what happens after 10 years? If inflation averages around 3% a year, that $50,000 would have the purchasing power of roughly $37,000 today. Think about that for a second. You didn't spend $13,000. Nobody stole $13,000 from your account, but your money can still lose the equivalent of that purchasing power over time. It happens quietly, one price increase at a time. This is what people mean by losing purchasing power. And here's what makes inflation so easy to overlook. Your bank statement doesn't show the loss. The number on the screen can look exactly the same month after month, year after year. It feels safe. It feels stable. But the amount of goods and services that money can actually buy may be shrinking in the background. And for retirees, two areas deserve especially close attention: healthcare and housing. Medical care can become a significant expense as we age, while housing costs can continue putting pressure on a fixed retirement budget. That means inflation isn't just some number economists talk about. You can feel it in the bills arriving at your front door. And once you understand that, the next question becomes much more important. What can you actually do about it? Think about your bank account balance for a second. It doesn't have an alarm. It doesn't flash red when your purchasing power is falling. It doesn't send you a warning text. It simply shows you the same number, looking perfectly fine, while the amount that money can actually buy slowly shrinks. That's why so many retirees don't realize what's happening until they start feeling it in their everyday expenses. There's no single moment when inflation hits. No crash, no headline, no warning letter in the mail. It's more like a slow leak in a tire. You don't notice it happening. You just wake up one day and realize you can't go as far as you used to. And the impact can be even greater if most of your income is fixed. Maybe you have a pension that pays roughly the same amount every month. Maybe you have savings sitting in an account earning very little. If your income doesn't increase as prices rise, your purchasing power can gradually fall year after year. The same amount of money simply buys a little less than it did before. Social Security is different because it receives an annual cost of living adjustment. But here's the important part. Your personal expenses don't necessarily rise at exactly the same rate as that adjustment. And if your biggest expenses, such as healthcare, housing, or other essentials, rise faster than your overall income, you can still feel like you're falling behind. That's why simply looking at the number in your bank account isn't enough. You also have to ask a more important question. How much can that money actually buy? And once you understand that, the next question becomes unavoidable. What can you do to protect your retirement income from losing purchasing power? Now let's talk about who can feel the effects of inflation the most, because I want you to know where you stand. If most of your retirement income comes from a fixed pension, an annuity with little or no inflation adjustment, or savings earning very little interest, you may be more exposed to rising prices. Here's why. If your income stays relatively flat while the cost of groceries, healthcare, housing, and other essentials keeps rising, that same income gradually buys less. Social Security can provide some protection because benefits receive an annual cost of living adjustment. But here's the catch. Your personal expenses don't necessarily rise at exactly the same rate as that adjustment. If your biggest expenses rise faster than your income, you can still feel like you're falling behind. And here's where things get especially interesting. What if you've done everything you're supposed to do? You paid off your house, you avoided unnecessary debt, you saved carefully, you built a retirement account, and tried to create a financial cushion for yourself. You might feel safer because you have more money set aside. And financially, having savings is certainly valuable. But there's something many careful savers overlook. Money that sits in cash or low-interest accounts for years can still lose purchasing power if inflation rises faster than the return you're earning. So ask yourself honestly, which situation sounds most like yours? Because the strategy I'm about to show you isn't about guessing what prices will do. It's about making sure your retirement money has a better chance of keeping up with the world around you. Now, let's look at how much more powerful this effect becomes the longer it continues, because this is where the numbers get uncomfortable. We already looked at 10 years. If inflation averages around 3% a year, $50,000 10 years from now would have the purchasing power of roughly $37,000 today. But that's only the beginning. Stretch that out to 20 years, that same $50,000 would have the purchasing power of roughly $28,000 today. Think about that. The number on your account could still say $50,000, but what that money can actually buy could be dramatically less. Now go out 25 years. At roughly 3% average inflation, that $50,000 would have the purchasing power of only about $24,000 today. That's more than half of its purchasing power gone. And here's what makes this so dangerous. It doesn't feel like a huge financial event. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly lose 50%. There's no notification on your phone, no warning from your bank, no dramatic moment when it happens. Instead, prices rise gradually, year after year, and your money can quietly buy a little less each time. Until one day, 20 years into retirement, you look around and realize something has changed. Money that once covered your lifestyle comfortably doesn't stretch nearly as far anymore. And by that point, you can't go back and recover all of the purchasing power you lost. That's why understanding inflation isn't just about knowing a percentage. It's about understanding what that percentage can do to your retirement over decades. Let me make this real for you, because numbers on a screen are easy to forget. A story isn't. Think about a woman named Carol. She's 68 years old, and she did many of the things people are told to do before retirement. She paid off her house, she avoided debt, she saved carefully. And when she retired, she had a fixed pension of $50,000 a year. Honestly, she felt secure. Every year she looked at that $50,000 and thought, I'm fine, this is enough. And for a while it was. Then 10 years passed, nothing dramatic happened. There was no financial crisis, no bad investment, no huge mistake. Instead, Carol started noticing little things. Her grocery bill seemed higher. Medical expenses took a bigger bite out of her budget. And repairs around the house that once felt manageable started feeling surprisingly expensive. At first, she thought she was simply spending more, and then she sat down and looked at the numbers. And that's when it hit her. Her pension still said $50,000, but that $50,000 no longer bought what it used to. The number hadn't changed. The purchasing power had. The income that once covered her lifestyle comfortably was now forcing her to think twice about expenses she had never worried about before. Carol hadn't done anything reckless. She had simply underestimated what inflation could do over time. And that's the part I want you to remember. You don't have to make a bad investment to lose financial security in retirement. Sometimes the biggest threat is simply allowing your money to stay still while the world around you gets more expensive. But here's the good news. You don't have to let Carol's story become yours, because there are practical steps you can take to give your retirement income a better chance of keeping up with rising costs. And that's exactly what we're going to look at next. Okay, here's the part that actually matters, because I don't want to scare you about inflation and then leave you wondering what you're supposed to do about it. I want to show you some practical ways to think about protecting your retirement purchasing power. And the first thing to understand is this: you're not powerless. The goal isn't to eliminate inflation, it's to make sure your retirement strategy has a better chance of keeping up with it. Move number one, look at where your money is sitting. If a large portion of your savings is sitting in an account earning very little interest, and inflation is higher than what you're earning, that money can lose purchasing power over time. That's why it's worth understanding what your money is actually earning and how that compares with inflation. There are also financial products specifically designed to provide some protection against inflation. For example, certain government securities adjust in ways that are linked to inflation. They aren't magic solutions, and every investment has its own risks and trade-offs. But the important point is this: don't assume that simply keeping your money in one place means its purchasing power is protected. Move number two. Think about income that can potentially grow. Some investments, including certain dividend-paying stocks, have long histories of increasing the income they pay investors. That's important because an income stream that can grow over time has a better chance of keeping pace with rising expenses than an income stream that never changes. But remember, dividends aren't guaranteed, and stock investments can lose value. The goal isn't to chase the highest yield. It's to understand whether your retirement income has any ability to grow over time. Move number three. Pay attention to when you claim Social Security. If you haven't started collecting Social Security yet, your claiming age can make a significant difference in the monthly benefit you receive. For many people, delaying benefits beyond their earliest claiming age can increase the monthly amount, with increases generally continuing until age 70. And once you claim a benefit, it can also receive future cost of living adjustments. But this isn't a one-size-fits-all decision. Your health, financial situation, other income, and how long you expect to rely on Social Security all matter. So don't delay benefits simply because someone on the internet told you to. Understand the numbers first. And that's really the point of all three moves. You don't need to become a financial expert overnight. You need to understand where your money is, whether your income can grow, and which retirement decisions can affect your future purchasing power. Because once you know what's happening, you can actually start doing something about it. All right, here's what I want you to do, starting today. Not someday, today. Step 1, pull up your own numbers. Look at how much money you have sitting in savings, cash, or other accounts. Then ask yourself, what is this money actually earning? And compare that with inflation. You might be surprised by the difference. You can't make a good decision about your money until you know where you stand. Step 2, look at how your savings are positioned. If a large portion of your savings is earning very little interest, don't automatically move it into the first investment someone recommends. Instead, learn about your options. Ask a qualified financial professional what inflation-protected investments are available, what they could earn, what risks they carry, and what fees you would pay. The goal isn't to chase returns. It's to understand whether your money has a reasonable chance of maintaining its purchasing power. Step 3, look at your sources of investment income. If you're already invested in the stock market, ask whether any of your investments have a history of increasing the income they pay shareholders. Some companies have raised their dividends for many years. But remember, dividends aren't guaranteed, and stocks can lose value. The point is to understand whether your investment income has the potential to grow instead of remaining completely fixed. Step 4, if you haven't claimed Social Security yet, look at the numbers before you decide. Don't assume claiming early is automatically best, and don't assume waiting is automatically best either. Ask what your monthly benefit would look like at different claiming ages, and how that decision fits with your other income, savings, health, and expected retirement needs. Because once you claim, that decision can affect the income you receive for years to come. And step 5 is the simplest one. Don't wait for inflation to become a crisis before you take it seriously. Remember Carol, she didn't suddenly make one terrible financial decision. She simply let 10 years pass without realizing what was happening to her purchasing power. You're learning about it now, and that means you have something Carol didn't have at the beginning, a chance to make an informed decision before another 10 years pass. If this video opened your eyes to something you'd never really thought about before, do one simple thing for me. Share it with someone you care about, a parent, an aunt or uncle, a friend who's already retired. Because someone you know may be living on a fixed income without realizing how much rising prices are affecting their purchasing power. Your share today could help them notice the problem before another 10 years pass. And I want to hear from you. Did you already understand how inflation affects the purchasing power of your retirement money? Or is this the first time you've seen the numbers explained this way? Tell me in the comments. Your answer might help someone else watching this realize they're not the only one who is confused about it. And if you found this video useful, subscribe to Finn Retires. Every week, we'll break down retirement money, taxes, Social Security, and the financial decisions that can affect the money you've worked so hard to build. Take care of yourself, protect what you've built, and I'll see you in the next one.